and this is the Mr. Tat, my response to a tweet. So let's see what they have lined up here for us. Alright, my response to a tweet. Here we go. It says, Phil, you have been pretty hard on Trump lately. How about giving him a break this week? Hey Phil, you've been pretty hard on Trump lately. How about giving him a break this week? Well, for all you Trump supporters, you are in luck because the big guy is out and your guy, Righteous Price, is in. So we're going to take things a different route today. And, let me read another one of these tweets here because they're all great. They're all great tweets here. This one says, hey Phil, why does it seem like kids have a hard time being patriotic these days? Hey Phil, why does it seem like kids have a hard time being patriotic these days? That one I can say is near and dear to my heart. So my response to a tweet, here we go. First, this response, I think, is more so hitting to the overall generalization of why, what the problem is with our kids and our youth, especially in the school system. And I believe personally that patriotism is just not the liberals' agenda. It plays no part in their culture, and it's not in their MO, modus operandi. For liberals, entitlement is the key. Entitlement is what they indoctrinate kids with from the first day they enter preschool. There are so many, ideals and ideologies out there that teach our kids anti-individualism, anti-conservatism, and these ideologies turn out to be something that does not help our country to become exceptional or to remain exceptional, and we've kind of slacked in that area just a little bit. But entitlement, it really begins at birth if you want to look at it. We all have been guilty of, at one point or another. I'm a father myself, and I can say that I have been guilty of this on occasion, even though I do teach my children overall conservatism. But entitlement starts at birth. A child is born into this world the most selfish individual on the planet. They are like attention grabbers, attention suckers. They're given all the attention in the room. From birth, they come out, they're little cutie, little baby. And they're used to getting attention and being the center of attention wherever it is that they are. They're either in a bassinet or a rocking chair or in their mother's arms or in this person's arms, and the world as they know it is the gist of the people that are in their faces at that time. And they get used to having a lot of attention. And knowing that this is kind of what they get used to, they start to learn that when they cry, when they whine, one cry might be for, a diaper change. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, mommy comes, changes the diaper. They might, let out another cry. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, dad knows. Oh, that's a hunger cry. Dad comes in, boop, pops in the bottle. And, after a while, the child gets to learn a little bit about selfishness. They get to learn a little bit about themselves before they even know themselves. Because they're new to the world. They're just exploring. So the first idea that they have is of self. It is, I do this, wah, wah, and I get this. a bottle, some food, you know, or my diaper changed. So this is how it begins for us all. A lot of us have parents that love us very well, and tender love and care is the first and foremost thing that they instill in us. So this pattern of selfishness, or me, starts at that age. And while that's okay for infants, it's not really okay for young children, especially not acceptable for teenagers or young adults. And it just brings to mind, you know, when the Savior Jesus said, you know, you should become as a child again, be born again in order to enter into the kingdom of heaven. I don't think he meant for us to have a feeling of entitlement or a sense of immaturity, asking for everything we want and getting it, and that will get us into heaven. I think it's more or less to the point where you have an understanding of what entitlement is. And it starts at that young age, and it bleeds over into our youth when they get to grade school and then high school. And then this is where it starts to become a problem, I would say, a situation, let's call it. It does transfer into adulthood, and if it's not checked, spare the rod, spoil the child. This is what happens today in our current education system, where a lot of these kids don't even realize that, you know, from a baby, they were not checked. Their parents allowed them to have the me syndrome, never checked them and told them, hey, you know, don't touch that, that's not yours. Or don't go into that room, that's not your room. And so these kids end up growing up with an entitlement sort of state of mind where they can just do whatever they want, go wherever they want, say whatever they want. And that bleeds over when they get to be young adults in high school, and now they can't even listen to the teacher that's trying to help them. When a teacher asks them, hey, you know, come inside, please keep your voices low, or don't talk at all, sit down, you know, we're going to start today's lesson. Oh, well, I was just checking my Instagram. Well, this is not the time for that, young person. You know, we can do that after class. Well, no, I have a right to check my Instagram whenever I want to, and this, you know, my mama says this, you know what, and this is where we get to the point where the issue becomes where now the teacher has to be the parent. And the teacher deals with an entitlement attitude from a child where that should have been checked at home. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Now you have a situation where the teacher has to be a little bit more stern and try to give that child the lesson that they should have got when they were at home. Following basic instructions. Please come in. Sit down, you know the rules. And so now the child feels patronized because they're being told something that they've never been told before. It's foreign to them. It's like brand new. So they don't know how to react. So then they overreact. And then there's the situation, and then we all know what happens from there. Kids feel like we've intruded in their safe zone. We've done everything to disrespect them. They have rights. When really it's just a sense of entitlement. And for liberals, this is what their goal is. They in a sense, they like that sort of anarchy. Because this is when they have the opportunity to come in and be the savior of the day. Which we all know what happens when they come in and be that savior. They teach our children that they do have rights and that it's okay to be entitled to do things, and they're wrong and you as a child is right. Well, I think that this is the main issue when it comes down to why our children aren't taught patriotism. Because it just doesn't fit in the liberal agenda. If we were to teach our children patriotism, individualism, even conservatism at a young age, which was, education even responsibility, taking out the trash, earning your allowance, and things of this nature, to where we're training them up in the way that they should go, so when they grow up, they won't soon depart from it, so that when they're away from us, they have the opportunity to use the knowledge and the understanding that we gave them as a child. So, and my response to this tweet is, entitlement begins at birth. And if left unchecked, it can become a serious, serious issue that will not only affect just your child as a youth, but it will bleed over into that character as an adult. And now our country has to deal with an explosion of entitlement. And we need to get back to conservatism, people. Well, thanks. My name is Righteous Price, and that is my response to a tweet on the Phil Williams Show.